take this? The president is a 74-year-old man who's technically obese. How long before we have a sense whether he's out of the woods? And, you know, at one point, Mark Meadows was saying the next...
It's a little overweight. They don't have to say obese.
10 days. You know, when are we going to know whether he's okay? And I guess part of the question is, what is the likelihood, being where he is right now, that he can participate in a presidential debate in 11 days?
So it is always very difficult to make judgments about individuals, especially unless you're really involved in the care. Overall, in this age category, people of the president's age, there was a large study done by CDC in January to May timeframe that said that about a third of people his age who were diagnosed with COVID would be hospitalized, and that there is a significant mortality rate in that age group. Now, the president is receiving extraordinary care and looks like he's doing well, but it's certainly a serious disease for people of his age and with underlying condition. We do know that some people have symptoms that are mild and recover and do extraordinarily well in the first week, but there are others that in the 5 to 10 day time range can have a relatively quick deterioration and develop more severe symptoms. And it's very difficult to judge that at this time. Again, those additional test results would help us make some judgment about the likelihood of his disease getting better or the potential for worsening. In terms of the debate, I think it's too soon to say. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
I was going to ask you, though, because this does get to the bigger issue of the proper safety regulations. The rallies that the president held where thousands of people were there, oftentimes with no separation, the vast majority of them not wearing masks. And then, as I discussed with Steve Cortez, the president's family and advisors ignoring the requirement at the debate that they wear masks. As a public health official, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I think there is clear danger in having events where there are many people close together without wearing masks for a prolonged period of time, especially where
They weren't the only one that weren't wearing masks
voice more effectively. So I really think large gatherings like rallies shouldn't be happening at this point.
They weren't talking. They were 6 feet away from people.
In the last few weeks, actually been getting worse. And I think when the commission sets rules for preventing transmission during debates, they should be followed. People shouldn't be making their own decisions. They should be following the rules that are established by the public health experts who set up those debates.
I don't think it happened at the debates. You're not sick, Chris Wallace.
The continuity of
just sick in the head.
Because the president is in the hospital, as we say, his prognosis is uncertain, and the course of this. Your thoughts about Vice President Pence, the next in line to the presidency, going ahead with public rallies, going ahead with this debate, is that a sensible action for him to take, or does it raise concerns on your part about the next person in line to the presidency?
Yeah, well, my view at this point is that the rest of the debates, the vice presidential debate, and if there are presidential debates, should be virtual. I think at this point we've seen from the first debate that there were unanticipated very large risks that developed around the debate and in the days afterwards. And in fact, by public accounts, it looks like the vice president had a meeting with the president on Tuesday, a period of time where he would be presumed to be contagious. And so in my mind, it seems like the vice president should be in quarantine, even if he is getting tested on a daily basis. And so in any event, I don't think it is a proper risk to take to have him.
Yeah, you might have got it Wednesday.
With, Senator Harris in person, and they could easily do this debate virtually, as was done in the past for, at least in the case of Kennedy and Nixon, I know we did virtual debates. But for public health purposes, I think it would be safer not to have these large gatherings at this point, given the risks of the pandemic.
I want to pick up on something you just said, which is that, in fact, the pandemic is getting worse. The president has been sending a consistently optimistic message about where we are with COVID-19 in recent days. Here's some clips from that. Take a look.
And we're rounding the turn, we're rounding the corner of the pandemic. Tremendous progress is being made, and I say it, I'll say it all the time, we're rounding the corner. I just want to say that the end of the pandemic is in sight.
Yeah, because they're coming up with
Where are
the
we really with
the
At this
vaccines.
point in this country?
Dummy.
We are still in the middle of a dangerous pandemic in this country. If you look at the papers this morning and the data, you can see that something on the order of 2/3 of the states in the country have had increases in COVID numbers in the last week.
Talking about the
We're
vaccine.
seeing, as you said earlier, in the 40,000
Late October,
range
early
cases every
November.
day. Hospitalization rate has just begun to tick up again. If you look at the numbers across the country, and there are places in the country in the Midwest, and particularly in Wisconsin, which are having extraordinary numbers, their highest numbers
So
since
once
this pandemic started.
In a
Places
century,
Wisconsin
once
have
in a lifetime,
all
really,
of the sick people that are coming sick with COVID.
once
So
in
I think people need to
100
really
years pandemic.
continue to take this very seriously, to avoid large gatherings, wear masks, physically distance as they have been over time.
It's unprecedented.
And hopefully in the months ahead,
We're all
we'll
going
get
through it.
vaccines coming online, but in the meantime,
They're trying to blame Trump for everything.
We've been taking all along to prevent transmission.
Would have been way worse if he hadn't
And
banned the
you've answered
Chinese
part
from
of it,
coming
but
on the
what is the
planes.
biggest lesson that people should take from the fact that even the President of the United States, who was in the most secure health bubble of anybody maybe in the world, can still get this illness? What's the lesson people should take from that, and specifically what they should and shouldn't do?
Yeah, I think the lesson is that this is still the same virus. The virus hasn't changed. We heard earlier this week that most of us are still susceptible to this virus. In this country, only a small percentage of us have been infected and recovered at this point. So people should take it very seriously. We do have to find a balance in terms of, you know, living our lives and
Exactly.
the economy moving. But everything that people can do as individuals in terms of masking, physically distancing, avoiding large gatherings, we should be doing that. And hopefully in the time ahead, with more diagnostic testing and with the coming of new therapies and vaccines, the risk will continue to go down. But for now, you need to take this virus very seriously.
We'll do the best we can.
Dr. Inglesby, thank
Doesn't
you.
mean we stop
Thanks
living
for
like Joe
joining us. Good
Biden.
to talk with you, sir.
Jump in the basement for 3 months.
Up next, we'll turn to one of Joe Biden's key backers. Senator Amy Klobuchar joins us to discuss the president's COVID diagnosis and what it means for the campaign.
I'm gonna pass on that one.